What's been a failure in your life, in all the 60 years you've lived, that has taught you the most about who Arrie is?
Both in my life and my professional career was when I was asked to move from a job that was a huge job. I was responsible for a whole retail network. And at the time, that felt to me like it was the end of my career. And as I reflected on that, not just how we define what we do, but also how we believe others define who we are. And perspective is an amazing thing because for the first time you then realize how this whole picture actually comes together. But also frugality for me is a very important value.
What does that mean?
Being careful with how you spend your resources. And that comes from a very difficult, very poor upbringing. As you become more successful in corporate through my life and through my career, is that these anchors also change. My daughter tells me I'm the most locked in person.
What does being locked in mean?
Focus. Find a mentor or mentors that are relevant and understand when you outgrow it. Understand when they don't add value anymore. Success for me could be failure for somebody else, because being successful in one dimension can come at a tremendous cost in other dimensions. It's your secret life determines your success in life.
Arrie, you're here. I can sing and dance because you're here.
Finally, it's taken a while.
Finally, it's taken a while. I remember the conversation we had when I was requesting you and inviting you to be a guest. You were the first person who asked me tough, real questions and rationale behind this concept. What convinced you to be a part of it?
Yeah, no, and of course it's wonderful to be here. And I have to say, I've followed some of your podcasts. I think it's the fact that you're dealing with something that everybody is dealing with in their life.
Mm.
So when you talk about failures, we all experience that in our lives, daily, weekly, monthly.
Yeah.
And taking a different angle on it, which is celebrating failures, I think is a wonderful way of showing people that it's okay.
Yeah.
Depending on how you think about failures. So
I
remember when you and I spoke, I said, leadership is not something which is always good.
You did.
Also got a dark side.
Yeah.
So looking at failure, I think, is an exciting way of just balancing out the way we look at life.
Yeah. What is failure to Arrie? How do you define it?
It's interesting. I've recently turned 60 earlier this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And obviously, you think and reflect about life. But very early on in my life, I redefined failure, or I changed the paradigm that I had around failure.
Yeah.
And in fact, failure can be equal to mistakes if you think about it. So my philosophy changed when I changed my paradigm around how I see failure. And my outlook is now one where we actually don't make mistakes. We have to experience failures to understand what life is about.
Yeah.
But it's not a failure if you understand the paradigm.
Yeah.
Or if you reflect, if you change, reframe your own paradigm around what it means. So, and often when I speak to youngsters and when we have conversations, one of the first things that I talk about is the fact that you've got to think differently about mistakes. You've got to think differently about failures because it's just life's way of taking you on a journey.
Yeah. What got you to a place where you had to see failure differently?
Of course. Look, if you think about how we experience life, the first thing you realize, it's not a one-dimensional experience. And what I mean by that, it's it's not just our professional lives; it's also our personal lives, our private lives, our health, our spiritual lives, and as you go through all of this, you realize that at times you don't keep this whole unit in balance. And as you do that, you make mistakes. Things don't go the way you want them to go. There's also a different way of thinking about that. Or you're not living up to expectations, either your own expectations or others' expectations.
Yeah.
And having made many mistakes across all those elements of my life, or having gone through many failures across all these different elements, you realize that you can't go through life unless you experience these events. And through these mistakes that I've made, through these failures that I've had, you realize that the way we were brought up, or the way we were taught, or the way it was posed to us. It was like something that wasn't good, something that you shouldn't experience. And once that sense came to me, you realize life is taking you on a journey, and this is just one of those moments that you experience in your, on your journey.
Yeah, yeah. What's been a failure in your life, in all the 60 years you've lived, that has taught you the most about who Arrie is and what Arrie is capable of?
I don't think there's a single one. But as I said now, we define ourselves in many ways. I've been a professional banker for most of my life. And in my professional career, there's been many failures, many mistakes. But also, I'm also a very keen sportsman.
Yes.
I played a lot of sports.
Oh, really? I know you cycle. Today
I'm a big cyclist. And of course, you don't win all the sports events that you participate in. So I've made many mistakes. I've had many failures on the sports fields. In cycling, things didn't go always the way that you planned. So if I were to think about examples, you can find examples in each one of those categories. I think it's important that when people think about their lives, as I said earlier, the risk is that you think about it in a single dimension. So professionally, if I were to think about what would have been defined as a failure by me at the time and others, that was profound in my life. Both in my life and my professional career, was when I was asked to move from a job that was a huge job. I was leading about 20,000 people at the time. I was responsible for a whole retail network, which is the face of the company that I was working for, which was ABSA at the time. As I said, responsible for large amounts of people, engaging with customers on a daily basis, to a much smaller role. So I was being asked to move from leading distribution to leading a product environment. So just imagine this for a second. Here's somebody that walks into the building every day and engages with about 20,000 people across the network, across call centers, going into a job where you're responsible for 32 colleagues. It's a big change. And at the time, that felt to me like it was the end of my career.
Oh, really?
Because of this enormous change. But, if you reflect on that, the question is, why would one think that way? And of course, at the time, I defined roles in size, in complexity, rather than
size
in
of
contribution.
Budget,
size of budget, size of the profit and loss that you're responsible for. Where you sit in the corporate hierarchy. So I had to go through quite a reset process in my own mind as I went through that experience. And as I reflected on that, not just how we define what we do, but also how we believe others define who we are. Because we often live our lives through what we think others perceive us to be. So I felt that others felt like I was a failure. And you set these tremendous expectations on yourself, what you want to achieve in life. So that for me was a profound event that actually got me to a point where I realized the importance of reflection. Because not just, as I said, you realize you framing what you're doing and what you've achieved in the wrong way, but also being successful, as I said earlier, also requires a certain level of emotional state. So a big lesson in that experience for me was my emotional growth. Because how you think about yourself, how you believe others think about you, you got to reframe that in your own mind as well, because it's about your experience, how you see that. So my real growth in that change actually was more emotional maturation, emotional growth, rather than the actual professional experience that I had to go through. Of course, you learn a lot of things in the process. But to your question, if I have to think back about my professional career now, that single change probably was the most important in my ultimate success as a professional. having to reframe what I do and how I do it and what I stand for professionally, my values, but also the importance of emotional maturity and the ability to bring that component into who you are as a person. Because if you want to be successful, as I said earlier, you've got to make sure that all the parts of your life is somehow in balance. So professionally, that was a big experience for me.
What convinced you to make the change in terms of the scale of the role? Because I know that when opportunities come my way, there's usually like, oh, it's a flat structure. No, there are no layers. So it's just like there's no PA. You do your own admin. And then you got to think like, 20,000 people, 30 people. Like what was it in the 30 people role that was the markers of actually maybe, Arrie, you must sign and take this job?
Now, I wish I can take the credit for actually accepting the role in the end. But I can't. I resisted that change.
Oh, did you?
For the reasons that you've just mentioned now. So you feel you're on a path. It makes sense for you in your own mind. You're successful in the role. You're comfortable in that paradigm. You're in your comfort zone. But of course, in a corporate structure, there are others that have got a vision, that have got plans in mind, that can see the picture that you can't see because they look at it from a different direction. And of course, they've decided that this was important for me professionally to make the change, but it was also important for the company at the time. So I didn't see that in the moment because it came to me as a shock. Because of how I defined professional success, to your point, do I have all the perks that come with it, all the numbers of people that report to you, the size of the budget, as you said earlier. So I negotiated around this, whether it should happen or not. But of course, at one stage, the person that I reported to said, look, it's not a choice anymore. The company needs you there. We think it's good for you. We would suggest that you take the role. And of course I did. But that is why the change was so difficult. Because it felt like I was forced into that change at the time. And then all the stuff that comes with that, the questions around success, the questions around being judged, the questions around confidence,
walking around the corridor, seeing people who used to report to you and not then.
It's a change that I was forced into. It's a change that I resisted. But it took me about 6 months to realize that I was enjoying what I was doing in the new role. And I was beginning to make a real difference in that environment. And also I understood now how it fit into the bigger picture. Because I moved from distribution into product, which is a little bit higher up the value chain. As I said, professionally, it became an easier move. But of course, emotionally, you got to go through the changes that you have to go through. And once you reset what you're busy with and you see the value in what you're busy with and you see the importance in what you're busy with, it started feeling easier. And then within the next 2 years, we changed that product environment into a phenomenal success, not just a South African success, but a global success.
Global success,
and as I said, that one forced change professionally was a key pillar in my ultimate professional success. That's why earlier also I made the point that at that moment it felt like a tremendous failure. It felt like I made a massive mistake because I worked in a different building. I used to work in Johannesburg, and then I had to drive to Pretoria every single day. It feels in the moment like you've made a mistake. But life takes you on a journey. And then as you reflect on this, you realize it wasn't a failure. In fact, it turned out to be a huge success once you manage to reframe how you think about yourself, how you see others in the process.
I was going to say I can relate because in my a while back when I worked for SA Breweries, there was obviously, like in marketing, a trajectory that everybody, roles you take. And I had taken a role that was in the provincial team and not in head office. Because I had gone to London and come back to South Africa, and there was no role for me in head office. And I do remember how it felt, because I was not where action was happening. And I had to reframe, because I had to find aspects that would make my profile more compelling for the growth I want to come back to head office for. And in that time, I remember having conversations with a few people I trust. Sometimes they won't understand what's going on in the company. Like, oh, no, this is a step back. Why must you move to a Pretoria office? Who were the people that you looked to just help you understand if you're thinking through things clearly before you sign? Because I can sense the hesitation. Like, is this a step back, a step up? And you need guidance from someone. Who were those people, and what role did they play?
So I think now you touch on a very important element of how we go through life and how we live our lives. And that is, our anchors or our soundboards or our mentors or advisors. And I have found throughout my career, both professionally and personally, that having such a structure in place is fundamentally important, because it gets you out of your own mind. And as well as what I do, it's in those quiet moments when you're in your own mind, where you build scenarios that are very unreal, but they make sense to you and they feel real to you as a person. So at that time, I reached out to some of my mentors, some of my anchors, both inside the organization, but also outside the organization, and also, my wife at the time, my family at the time, because they live what you experience every single day. And it's through many conversations with those anchors, with those mentors, that they help you to get the perspective that you don't have at the time. And perspective is an amazing thing, because for the first time you then realize how this whole picture actually comes together. And without that perspective, we feel often, isolated or uninformed, or can feel as a failure, in the actual moment. So I think if there's one thing to take away from this part of the conversation is the importance of having social structures in place, different social structures. And what I've realized through my life and through my career is that these anchors also change as your needs change, as your needs evolve. As you grow, you may outgrow some of these mentors or coaches or anchors. And sometimes they come back at a later stage again, because you're looking for them in a different dimension of your life. Without the help of that structure, that support, we will struggle through life. Doesn't matter professionally,
or personally. At which point do you decide that you've got enough input? There's a whole thing, especially if you listen to people who are innovators, leadership in general, or personally, you seek input, and there is a point where you must be like, okay, enough now, Arrie. You've got all the different thoughts. Now it's up to you to make the decision. How do you sense that you're at that point, and how do you kind of start to get yourself closer to confidently making a move or a decision?
So look, I think, Notokozo, what's critical here is that, each one of us live our own lives. And somebody once taught me that if you don't own your verse in the universe, somebody else does.
If you don't own
your verse in the universe.
Your verse in the universe, somebody else does.
Somebody else does.
What does that mean?
So what that means is that ultimately you have to take accountability for your own life. You can consult, you can engage, but at some point you got to act. Nobody else can do it for you. So as we enjoy this journey of life, as we enjoy all the moments in this journey of life, we have to be an active participant. We can't be passive in the process, because the moment you're passive, somebody else is in control. Something else is in control.
Yeah.
So owning my verse in the universe is an important part of my philosophy in life. What I said earlier is, you have doubts, you've got concerns, but the moment you feel that you understand the broader context, somehow it makes sense.
Yeah.
Somehow there's a calmness that comes over you. Somehow you start seeing a path.
Yeah.
You start seeing a light on the path.
Yeah.
And then it feels like you can see this thing work, and move away from the fact that this felt like an incredible failure at the time to this is actually a key part of my journey. So I've always been somebody that wasn't scared of making decisions, making choices. I still do that today.
Yeah.
But it's from this philosophy that we can think ourselves into a state of paralysis.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
We can overanalyze.
Yeah.
We live in the future or we live in the past. But the challenge for us is to see the opportunity in the moment, to see the beauty in the moment, to see the gift
in that moment,
that experience, and to use that as the next phase or the next part of the journey that you are on.
Yeah, brilliant. I want to talk to you in your role of coaching. I know you are passionate about coaching and mentoring people. How do you coach individuals who are scarred from a past event and they just are crippled to kind of evolve from it, move on from it, so that they can be in the now, like you're talking about? Don't live in the past or live in the future. You've got to live in the now.
Yeah. So you're right. I think we've all got a role to play in terms of coaching, mentoring, advising others. I've experienced the benefit of that throughout my life. Today, still at the age of 60, I've got wise mentors that I go to almost on a daily basis.
Oh, really?
Just to check in.
Yeah.
And when somebody deals with deep trauma or deep scarring, it is as if they are stuck in a specific time capsule.
Yeah.
And again, the importance as you have these conversations with these colleagues or these people is to understand why they're there, what got them there, going through a conversation with them to understand that, and then just start helping them to realize that we all go through this at some point in our lives. Not once, many times.
Yeah.
And again, what I said earlier is if you can help them to see a little bit more perspective, a little bit more context, all of a sudden there's a little light that shines for them. Because in a situation like that, it's almost like people become hopeless.
Yeah.
People are directionless.
Yeah.
And I think what we haven't touched on as part of this conversation on the course is the importance of knowing why you are doing things. And what I mean by that is, if we talk about a professional environment like we are now, what is your objective? Why are you there? What is it that you want to achieve?
And the objective can't just be to get paid.
Can't be.
To keep the lights on at home.
To just, get the big job at the end of the day. It's got to be a bigger thing than that. So if you understand and get to understand that individual's purpose or help them understand their own purpose, all of a sudden there's a reason for being.
Yeah.
And that reason is not me.
Yeah.
That reason is something bigger than me.
Yeah.
And the moment the reason is bigger than you, the energy that you radiate, the energy that comes from you is a positive energy, is a constructive energy. But if it's about me and what I need from this, the energy is an energy that takes. So, dealing with trauma is difficult. Going through it yourself is difficult. But, working with people and helping them to work through that trauma is incredibly rewarding. not just for you as the individual, but also for the person sitting on the other side. Because all of a sudden, as I said earlier again, there's good energy, there's a reason for existence. And in every conversation, what's important for me to understand is that reason why people are on the journey that they are. Many of us go through great parts of our lives without having a purpose, without knowing why we do that. And then it's like we're bouncing around on the ocean a little bit, and then things can derail us quite quickly. And then failures feel like deep failures instead of just another event on our, on our journey.
I also find purpose helps one to know what to say no to.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think we just, we embrace the idea of purpose as far as it inspires what you pursue. But I also think in that, knowing your why just helps you to say no to some things and say yes to some things. What was your process of understanding your purpose? I always feel overwhelmed when people ask, do you know your purpose? What is your purpose? Because it feels like you've made a phone call to the universe and to God and to angels, and you're like, hey, why was I born?
What am I doing?
Why am I here?
What am I doing
what's your process of kind of getting to knowing that this is what your purpose is?
Yeah. Look, I think we must not think that purpose has got to be this incredible, inspirational quote that we compare with others' purpose, because this is who I am. This is what I'm about in life. We want to compare purposes to understand whether my journey is as big or smaller than somebody else's, which is part of this paradigm around how we frame ourselves. Which is what we got to start getting used to as we, want to grow as individuals. For me, what's important is values, how I see myself, how I want to live my life. And I've always had quite a strong set of values, which of course is part of who you are and how you've grown up and how you continue to grow, on the journey that you're on. So, my values is founded in the value of stewardship, which is that I don't own anything, but I'm the steward of what I'm in charge of. And I'm the steward of who I am as a person and the impact that I have, but it's all temporary. And the moment I realize that I hold a role for a period of time, I'm healthy for a period of time, I'm happy for a period of time, all of a sudden you become emancipated. Because it's not something which you want to hold on to for forever. And you also look at others and develop others differently if you understand that your journey there is just a temporary one. But also frugality for me is a very important value. I grew
Frugality.
Up, frugality.
Okay. What does that mean?
Frugality.
What does it mean?
Frugality is being careful with how you spend your resources. And that comes from a very difficult, very poor upbringing in life.
Okay.
So many times we would have to be very careful to ensure that there's food on the table at the end of the month. And we were three boys, three growing boys, of which I was the eldest, but I'm still the smallest today, So
smallest by what? By size?
By size, so the three of us, but I'm the eldest of three. So I've realized very early in my life that you don't waste. It's as simple as that. And then, of course, things like authenticity, is getting to know yourself as a person. Because the better I understand myself, the more comfortable I am with who I am as a person, the easier it is for me to engage with others, and experience them and allow them to experience me. So these are my core values. Out of that, I believe that I can sense the potential in people quite early on. I'm very intuitive when it comes to people. And it's always been my purpose to want to help people to achieve their full potential. So that's how I led in the corporate environment. That's how I lead my family. That's how I engage with people that I engage with throughout my life. And that, that has focused me on what I wanted to achieve, So professionally, personally, I don't hold on to things because I know I'm only there for a period.
Yeah.
And if you think about the bigger journey that we're on, we're only here for a short period of time. So if you can get yourself to live it in the moment and experience failure as a traumatic, difficult time, there is something special in that. But also experiencing success in a beautiful way, there's something magic in that. There's a gift in either of those moments. If you're open to it.
If you're open to it, So the thing that I love to also explore is this idea, like being a marketing professional.
Yes.
Some failure is very public. We do an advertising campaign. We launch a product, and the public just decides we're not buying into this. And to reframe from that and to have the confidence to understand it's momentary, it's teaching me something. The C-suite might not be happy. How do you deal with judgment where those around you are expressing negativity towards you, the moment of failure?
Yeah. Look, I think what you're saying is as you become more successful in corporate, you also become more of a public figure. So whether you're in marketing or whether you're a CEO of a company or a C-suite executive of a company, your profile does become public. And leadership in itself is also quite a lonely journey that you are on. But again, what I said a little bit earlier is something which I've learned very early on in my leadership career, is the fact that I cannot control what others think. I cannot control what others think of me.
It's so hard.
Of course it's hard. Of course it's hard. Especially if people create a profile around who you are as a person, and you're not that person. But this again is where you have to understand and have to have the emotional maturity to understand that what they see and what they say is more a reflection of who they are than who you are. But it takes time to get to that point. And this is why you got to be on a journey of understanding who you are, not to cause it. What do I stand for? What's important for me? Because remember, success for me could be failure for you.
That's true.
Failure for me could be success for you. So it's how I frame that moment, how I frame that experience. But of course, we humans, we've got emotions. And we will experience those emotions. But as you experience those emotions, at some point, you need to have leverage, the support structures, the social structures that we spoke about earlier, just to bring that perspective back, to realize that it's actually not about you, and to reset where you find yourself. Otherwise, you stay stuck in that moment. And when you stay stuck in the past, it's a depressive emotion. If we live, on the expectations of the future, it's an anxious emotion. We want to experience it in the moment. And if we experience in the moment, we can embrace it and we can enjoy it as tough as what it is. See the gift in it, and then leverage from the gift what I do with it as I go forward. But you said earlier, is learning to say no. This is also learning not to judge yourself through the eyes of others. We just want to look at who we are. Look at whether you're happy with who you are, and then what you're not happy with, change, because that's your journey. You're in control of that process. You're in control of your verse in the universe.
My verse in the universe.
But if I'm always concerned about what others believe, they are narrating my verse, in the universe. And that's a disempowering emotion. Or that's a disempowering experience. Whereas when you're in control of it, you're empowered in the process, and then you send a different energy.
Out. Have you had moments where, Arrie, you're like, you know what? I can't be bothered to brush my teeth or to get up today. What does that Arrie look like? Where you're like, today's not the day.
There's a saying. by the Yogi.
Yeah.
And I can't say it on this podcast.
Oh, you can.
But he just simply, I'll abbreviate it for you. But
sure.
he just simply said, some days you just got to say F this day.
Of course, yes.
Because they are going to come.
They're gonna come, yeah.
We're just human beings. So of course I have bad days. You've many bad days because we're human beings. We experience all the emotions. But again, if my why is clear, if my why is important, somehow you find the energy. My daughter's 16. It's a very emotional time for them. 2 days ago, I can't remember whether it was yesterday or the day before, we had a long conversation because it's exams now and she's in grade 10. And, then you realize the emotions that they are going through and getting up and having to study all day. You lock yourself up in your room. It's hard. So it doesn't matter who we are. We have these days. We have these days. So can I reach out to you and Tokos and say, listen, I'm having a bad day. How's your day going? So it's real. It happens. When it comes, experience it. Maybe if it's so bad, follow the Yogi's saying, okay, I'm going to write this day off. I'll realize in good time why I had this day. So no, we go through emotions.
Go through all of that.
Absolutely.
What did you hold precious in your youth days, your 30s, 40s, that now in your 60s, you're like, that was not a thing to hold on to? And what brought you to that realization?
So I said earlier that I grew up, the eldest of 3 brothers, which gives you a sense of responsibility that comes with being the eldest. Also, we grew up in very difficult circumstances, very poor, raised by my mother, who had to raise 3 boys. And of course, what you want to do as a consequence of that, but you only realize it later in life, is you want to be successful. There's a drive in you that is almost unstoppable. So people that know me will tell you that I'm incredibly focused. My daughter tells me I'm the most locked in person, which is their language.
What does being locked in mean?
Focused.
Okay, fine.
So I became incredibly focused on driving for success, but in the professional environment. And, you have to go through many experiences to realize that journey can't just be about that. I've shared a professional experience earlier with you, which was part of realizing it's not just about hard work. It's not just about the size of the job. It's about a lot more than that. But also you want to show that you're successful. Because when you grow up on the wrong side of town, people have got a perception of you and you've got a perception of others. So you want to show that you are successful, and then you realize it's all just material things that you are chasing. And if you chase material things, it's like chasing the rainbow. You can never catch it. So I went through a phase where it was all about catching the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And what I mean by that is about the material image,
things,
which is the role profile, which is the car that you drive, the house that you live in, how you show up every single. It's a little bit like social media today. That picture has got to be a perfect picture, but there's no such thing as a perfect picture. And I think, as I said earlier, as you reflect on these experiences, and obviously on the understanding that there's a level of self-awareness, maturation emotionally, spiritual growth, landing with your values. You need to understand that it's more than just about yourself. You realize I got to change this objective because it's not a sustainable objective. I'll be running for the rest of my life and I'll never catch it. But it's about catching every moment. I keep on coming back to that point. So once you start getting to that point where ego is not your driver, life seems to be quite simple. Life seems to be quite basic. I've just done, you and I spoke about this a 4,000 kilometer self-supported bicycle journey through the Balkans, through 8 countries, where I had to take everything with me on a bicycle. You know what? After a couple of days, if something doesn't add value, you get rid of it.
It's heavy weight. It's adding.
You got to get rid of it.
So you get rid
of the extra shorts, you get rid of the extra shirts, because you got to carry the stuff up mountains, down mountains. And you realize the beauty in life is in its simplicity. The beauty in life is in the moments. This moment that you and I have now can never come back. You've got to make the most of this moment. But it's finding the joy in these moments, finding the joy in the simplicity, not in the stuff that you think people judge you by. So, I had to go through that journey. And today I find myself in a situation where when I talk to youngsters, and when I say youngsters, you understand what I mean. When I mentor people, when you coach people, you're hoping that they can get to a point where they start chasing the right dream, where they start chasing what is linked to their purpose and not trying to impress others. Live for that ego, which is not a sustainable outcome.
What do you think offers the most or the greatest opportunity to learn? Success or failure? And why?
So when you think about success and failure, think about it as two sides of the same coin. So it's not about, is success a bigger taskmaster than failure? It's about the fact that you'll experience both. What's important is that I can celebrate success in a way that is humbling, in a way that allows me to understand what I've done right to get to that outcome, in a way to learn how I handle success. Because not handling success in the right way can lead to terrible arrogance and ego and a self-confidence that is not sustainable. Equally, if you don't handle failure correctly, it can take you down a path. So as I think about this, you will continuously experience both. If you want to have a beautiful view, you got to cycle up the mountain. If you want a long downhill, you got to get up first. So I find that I celebrate success a lot better once I understand how to find the gift in failure.
Okay.
But equally, there's a gift in success because it's not permanent. And again, the point around being in these situations is never permanent. So failure is never permanent. Success is never permanent. You'll constantly experience both. Just as you think your life is perfect, you're going to realize it's not. Just as you think you're going to lose all hope, something is going to happen.
Back.
Something is going to happen.
I want to ask you about the role of a mentor, a sponsor, and a thinking partner. Because usually people, especially those who are still coming up in the ranks, seek to have a lot of mentors. I'm sure you get a lot of requests. And they don't know the difference and the importance of each one of these roles in their lives. How would you define the differences between a sponsor, a mentor, and a thinking partner or coach?
Or a coach.
In your career?
So I've had the benefit of working with many different coaches, many different mentors, sponsors differently. And if I touch on them as per your request, a coach, and as a coach, what you realize is the person is helping you through intelligent questions, engagements, to come up with the answer yourself. That's important. And why that is important is if I go through a good coaching process, I own the outcome. Again, I've made this point a little bit earlier. If I own it, I can go out and do it. But if I don't own it and you've owned it on my behalf, I'm paralyzed. I'm disempowered. So the coaching relationship has got to empower the coachee to step up, step out, and achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
As a mentor, you share experiences. You take people on a journey. You share your experiences, to help them to make sense of what they're experiencing, to get a sense of what it is that they are going to experience, which is equally important, but has a very different purpose. So the corporate environment is where sponsors are, more relevant. And as I said a little bit earlier, is in my corporate career, I never went and looked for sponsors. And I would caution people that are building careers to go and look for sponsors, because you're asking for something in a line structure, in a hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
However, you can have many mentorship conversations with people that have gone on the journey that you plan to go on. And you can also get coaches internally or externally that can help you to make up your own mind on what it is you want to do. So as you engage, it's very important that you engage for the right reasons. And as a sponsor or a mentor or a coach, very important for you to understand, get a sense very early on why the coachee is engaging me. Because that need for engagement has got to be honest. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be about growth. Not about leveraging me to achieve the success you want to achieve. And I can't put myself in that position as a coach or a mentor or a sponsor, because I also got to do it for the right reasons. What I find is that if you're clear on what you want to achieve, you do it in the right way, you deliver results through ups and downs, you'll have many sponsors. Because people see performance
and
very
quickly. They're drawn to performance,
and it sets examples, in a corporate environment. So very different to not having a track record and looking for a sponsor. So if you do your work well, and you do it in the right way, you'll have many sponsors. You never would even know who they are, because you don't need to go and look for them. Because they're
usually you are just getting on with your day to day, and some people just takes a liking to your way, your quality of work.
Quality leaders will always spot talent, will always spot those individuals without them having to put up a sign to say, I'm talent. A fig tree doesn't put up a sign to say I'm a fig tree. It just produces a beautiful sweet fruit. So if you produce quality fruit, sweet fruit, you'll have many people picking from your tree. So my advice would be, rather find a coach that is relevant, and relevance is very important here, because your needs are going to change. Find a mentor or mentors that are relevant, and understand when you outgrow them. Understand when they don't add value anymore. Sponsors will be there.
It's the idea of that evolution.
Exactly. Don't go and look for sponsors. It's something which has become quite topical, in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, for the wrong reasons. So quality talent management speaks to quality sponsors and quality talent. It's a process that naturally comes together, because succession is the key part here. And quality leaders will find, quality succession, as part of the journey that they're on. So hopefully that gives people a good sense. You need them all, but you don't need to go and look for them all.
Some will find you along the way.
Some will find you.
What do you think the role of competition is? So I know there are leaders who say, put your blinkers on, don't look to the left or to the right, care about the lane you must cycle. And then there are others who find looking to the left and to the right, comparing the Joneses' house versus your house. And it kind of inspires and motivates and gives them drive. What is your belief? What kind of leader are you? Are you check my lane and I'm focusing on my speed and I'm competing with myself? Or do you find value in looking at the neighbor's house and saying, actually, that is inspiring me to go for that?
Yeah. So I think you're talking about different types of competition
Yes.
in the examples that you're using. So
Yeah.
competition can be constructive or it can be destructive. So if I end up competing to win at all costs, I'll never win because I'm creating damage in the process. But if I'm competing to be a good competitor and allowing space for people to compete with, the outcome will always be a better outcome. Competition is a fundamental element to success in life, in nature, anywhere. But it's a constructive competition. It's not a dysfunctional competition. Now, when I start comparing myself to the Joneses, I start doing things for the wrong reasons. So then I start getting driven by ego instead of developing myself to my maximum potential. Remember what I said earlier, success for me could be failure for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I may run the 100 meters in 12 seconds and feel good about it. You know, Usain Bolt runs it in 9.5 seconds, you know. So I've shared my early career with you earlier. It was all about success. But I've learned that, you know, as you compete, it's about the competition. It's not about the end game. So if I can win and enjoy it, it's a good outcome. If I can lose and enjoy it, to use a competitive frame like a game, you know, a soccer match or, you know, something like that, and still enjoy it, it's a good outcome. Because then the experience was where the learning came from. But competition drives innovation, it drives creativity, as long as it's for a good outcome. You know, you always got to leave something for the buyer. You always got to leave something for the other person, you know, in the relationship, in your engagements. Otherwise, it's all about you, and then you're taking instead of giving.
Yeah. And as we wrap up, what guidance would you give to, I love asking this question, a young Arrie who aspires to grow up in banking and to have the success you've had, in as far as their mindset and being ready for all of the layers and extent of challenge in the boardroom? If you were to give them, again, let's go back to 3 things that person entering a banking ecosystem somewhere, that these are the 3 things they must mentally prepare themselves for.
So I think banking is just one profession. It's obviously the profession that I have chosen, but it's one of many. You're a marketer. It's not less or more important than banking. But I think I would use an analogy, which I have found very useful in life. And that is that a river never gets rushed.
The river never gets rushed.
The river never gets rushed. You know, so a river needs to get to the sea. It's going to get there. It starts in the mountains somewhere. It has to traverse incredible terrain, but ultimately it gets to the sea. And then it becomes part of a bigger journey as it enters the sea, because it disappears in the sea. When we are young, we want to get to the sea tomorrow. You know, we are driven by ambition, which is a good thing, because it gives us momentum. But I've realized through life that patience, strategic patience, following that journey, understanding that I'm going to make many mistakes in the process. It's not a linear path that I'm following. I'm going to go around gorges, through gorges, around rocks, through dry sand. I'm going to disappear at times, and then I'm going to come back again. And ultimately, I'll get to the destination that I'm bound to get to. So when I talk to younger professionals today, this is a conversation that I always have with them. Because once you realize the importance of strategic patience or patience, you learn a lot more in the moment again. And the journey is not one of professional success only. If you want to be successful in your career, it's one of the dimensions of life you need to be successful in. Because being successful in one dimension can come at a tremendous cost in other dimensions. And we all experience that at different times.
Yeah.
So as you build the foundation for your success, you've got to start thinking about your full human being. This is your spiritual health, your emotional health, your physical health, your social interactions, who you are as a person, to be successful in your professional environment, whatever you choose. In closing, I'll say something which I was taught maybe 20 years ago, is the secret to your success in life is how you live your secret life.
What? You've got to say that slowly.
The secret to your success in life is how you live your secret life.
Wow.
That's the part that people don't see.
Yeah. What does it mean to you?
So that is just the point that I made is my professional success is a function of how I live my spiritual life, my physical life, my emotional life, my personal life, manifests across all these elements in success. You want to get to a point where you feel success across all these elements.
All of them. Yeah.
A year and a half ago, I got a medical diagnosis that I completely didn't expect because I'm a healthy individual.
Yeah.
So life keeps on coming at you from different angles. If all the legs of the table are in place, you can handle it. But if I only measure success in one dimension, at some point, disappointment is going to be enormous.
Sure.
So this is why I make the point that is your secret life determines your success in life. And that's the combination of everything that you've got to find time to put together.
Sure. On that note, it's a wrap.
This was a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Arrie. Yeah.